We need to find a place to talk about these pumps, but there's no...
There's no place. Oh, we should just be in our spot.
There's no space. The only space on the floor is where Kika sits at night or stretches in the morning. Is that what we're gonna do? Mario Kart.
Wait, where's the banana?
That's as good as it's gonna get.
Okay. So today we're going to be talking about this thing. Well, as one of the things we're going to talk about.
And this thing.
And this thing. And this thing.
So, for those of you who don't know, let's back up a little bit. Boats, by definition, float because there's more water on the outside of the boat than there is on the inside of the boat. The last thing you want on a boat is for there to be more water inside the boat than outside, because then you're sinking. In order to prevent that, boats need pumps. Lots of pumps to keep water out.
I think on a typical setup, you'd have a couple of small pumps, right? Kind of like maintenance pumps for the regular things, small leaks, condensation, rain dripping in.
Leaving a hatch open when it's raining, normal stuff.
And then they also have manual emergency pump override somewhere in the cockpit. And they're usually connected to the center of the boat, which is the bilge, right? This is kind of the system that we had on our older versions of UMA. We have a bunch of little electronic pumps. We had one electronic pumps.
Because anything that leaked anywhere on the boat eventually made it directly underneath us. So we just had one little bilge pump. We carried a spare, but we just had one electrical pump and then one small manual pump. I mean, like a catamaran obviously probably has two because there's two hulls. Some boats have two, like one in the engine room and one in the main bilge. But with UMA 3.0 now, we've got 6 different watertight compartments, all of which have the potential to get water in them, all of which need something to pull water out of them. So we're gonna have quite a few of these small, just little like maintenance pumps for condensation, if it rains, if it drips, if a spray comes in. These will take care of that mostly. But if anything serious happens, that's
we
what
have a
these are
second
for.
one. We're gonna go over like the small bilge pumps like later in the future, but for this episode, for this video, for this week, we want to focus on what we call the SOS pumps.
Our boat is sinking. Our boat is sinking. Our boat. So
anyway,
we have opted for a much larger, I think it's like the largest manual bilge pump we could find. This thing's an absolute beast. It pumps on both strokes. So rather than like going down and then pumping water out, going down and pumping water out, it pumps when you push it both ways. So it pumps double the amount of water as a normal manual bilge pump, and like 4 times more than the little bilge pump we used to have. And we're also installing this monster. This is an electric bilge pump, and it pumps about 3 times more water than that does.
This one is rated for 78 liters per minute.
Which I think comes out to around 4,500 liters per hour, something like that. My math is a little off. This one's rated for 15,000 liters per hour.
And how big is our bilge?
I don't know how many liters our bilge holds, but our boat displaces roughly 9,000 kilograms. So that's 9,000 liters of water. So theoretically, this would pump out, like if our boat flooded to the water line, which would basically be neutrally buoyant, this could empty it in 30 minutes. It's pretty good.
Allegedly.
We are never going to test that. I hope we never have to test that. So instead of waiting until after they're installed to be tested, we're actually going to set these up outside and do some initial testing now just to make sure they work the way we think they're going to work. Maybe we can like measure and test to make sure that they actually pump as much water as they say they're going to pump. And also to test how much power this thing draws.
All right. Well, let's go test some pumps.
Do you remember this?
Welcome
to UMA Boat Show. Welcome to the UMA Boat Show. How do you feel about your first day on board? Yes. This is the same one. This pump handle came with UMA 1.0, and since they're all pretty much standard, and it was probably from a whale pump as well, it fits in the new pump. So we're keeping it because
it's nostalgia.
We can, and nostalgia.
Cool. Let's go.
Let's go do some tests. because we're not really going to be able to test these pumps thoroughly once they're installed because they're meant for emergencies, and in order to test them, we'd have to flood our bilge. We've set up some little test stations out here so that we can, A, make sure that they work the way we expect them to, B, make sure that they pump the amount of water we're expecting them to, and also just to kind of get familiar with them before we install them inside. So we screwed our manual bilge pump down to the steps and have that running into a bucket. And we've got the electric bilge pump in another bucket behind us, both of which have exactly 75 liters of water in them. So we can time them, test them, see how much water they put out, and see how much power the electric one draws so that we can build the appropriate circuit around it. So we've got a little bit of testing to do. Should be fun. It's a nice warm day, so it's a good day to get wet. All right, you go first.
We're gonna start with the manual bilge pump.
Hold on, let me get a timer. Ready? 3,
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go. It'll take a while. There it is.
Is that it? All right.
It
I'm
reached
gonna
the
stop
bottom.
you. This is right at about 53 seconds.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, while Dan is going to attempt to beat my record, which is 53 seconds, it means I have 53 seconds or less to talk about this week's sponsor, which is Squarespace. Go. Squarespace is an all-in-one platform that helps you build a beautiful, professional, and functional website. Our website is more like a home base where we have absolutely everything. I'm getting wet. From our shop, the back end, the store, everything is working together so seamlessly. So when you do start a website, you can start from scratch, or if you want creative control, or you can use one of Squarespace multiple templates to make sure that you have something super customized to your needs. Squarespace also just introduced a intelligent design tool, which is an AI tool that helps you customize it even more. And if you're trying to have, and if you want, no, you can be done. You can be done. If you want an online store, you can use their commerce tool to help you manage absolutely everything from inventory to web to customer service to shipping labels. Everything is included. Well, 1 minute and 3 seconds, but I didn't finish talking about Squarespace yet. So if you are meaning to build a website, then make sure you click on the link below. You can try it for free on squarespace.com, or you can use our link selling UMA for 10% off your first purchase of a domain or a website. On that note, Dan's record was 1 minute and 3 seconds, but I think you probably were done before I stopped it, so it's not really accurate. I think we should do it again. That was
That was fun. Yeah, I think I was trying to like suck every last drop out of it too, but it's good because this is rated for it says 78 liters a minute right on the side, and we were both able to empty this 75-liter bucket in around a minute. Keegan was 53 seconds, I was closer to a minute, give or take, which is good. So it performs as expected. This hose is also relatively long because it's actually the hose that we're going to be using to run down into our bilge. So it was also a pretty good test because this is about how long of a hose we're going to have. So feeling how long it takes to prime and then get the water overboard was good. Gives us a feeling for how well it's going to work. But this isn't our only emergency bilge pump. We also have an electric one, which is hopefully going to be the thing that handles most emergency situations if we have any. So now we're going to flip a switch, turn that on, and time to see how long it takes to dump 75 liters of water. It should be about 3 times faster. All right, so this is our 12-volt testing setup that we built. It's just to like test all of our 12-volt loads. These are 2 230 volt to 12 volt power supplies that we have wired in series, so we can get 30 amps out of them, which is what the bilge pump is rated for. The ones we're actually going to be running off the boat, because that is a 12 volt bilge pump, but we want it to run off of our 48 volt battery bank. We're going to actually give that bilge pump its own 48 volt to 12 volt power supply. That's also 30 amps. So although these ones are running off of 230, the real one's going to be running off of 48, but it gives us a good idea about like how these power supplies are going to handle the load of the bilge pump, and also how much load the bilge pump is even going to be under. Because it's rated for 30 amps, but it's probably not going to run at 30 amps. It's probably going to run at a lot less. So we got those running through some breakers and a RCD just in case anything happens, because we're playing with water. And then through the power supplies to 2 more breakers, and then out through a little DC amperage current meter so we can check to see how much power it is. And then we have some Wagos so we can plug in loads and a switch. So once we flip that switch with 0 effort at all, we should be pumping a lot more water than we were with the manual one. All right.
You ready?
You ready to see how fast this takes and how little effort? All right, in 3, you're gonna get wet. 2, 1, go. Jesus.
Already?
Yeah. All right, that's it. 22 seconds. So exactly 3 times faster. Nice. Which is cool, because that one's rated for 15,000 liters per hour, and that one's around 4,500 liters per hour, so it should be about 3 times faster. It is 3 times faster, although I didn't see how many amps it was drawing because I was too busy watching it drain the bucket, so I think we have to do this again. That's quiet too. It was quieter than I expected it to be. Yeah. That's a lot of water. I feel like really happy with that, knowing that if we ever get water above the floor boards, we can turn that on and it just goes and suck it all down really quick.
All right, take 2.
Take 2. We're gonna watch the amperage this time to see how much it actually draws. In the boat, it'll be pushing water up maybe 1 meter higher, so it might be slightly more amperage, but not much. So whatever this says, we'll design our system around that with the right fuses and breakers to make sure everything's good, and power supplies as well. Okay. All right.
Wait, let me.
You can film
focus.
that little box down there. The top right corner is going to be the amperage, yeah?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Ready? All right, 3, 2, 1. Oh, it's only 7 amps. Oh, there you go. 11. Still not bad. That's nothing. It's rated for 30, so I don't know where that extra power needs to go.
That's it.
Yep.
So quick.
So fast. Successful testing. So drilling holes in the boat kind of reminds me of like the dentist or getting blood drawn, where it's like you're more afraid of the thing leading up to it than the actual thing. Like no one, like I freak out more about thinking about going to the dentist than when I'm actually there. It's the same as this. It's like, it's just a hole in the boat, but also
It's a hole in the boat.
I don't want to fuck it up. It's weird. I have more like anxiety about drilling holes above the waterline than below, because above the waterline, the paint's all nice and pretty. Don't want to fuck it up. Whereas below, it's like, I know we could just like, it's just a hole, glass it in, sand it off, paint it. We could replace any hole underneath the bottom of the boat, no problem. If we wanted to take an ocean bolt out, we could. But above, we made the paint all pretty, and now I'm about to cut 2 giant holes in it. But I think we've got a pretty good plan. We've measured 1,000 times. Now it's time to cut once. And both of the outlets for both bilge pumps are as high up on the side of the hull as we can make them, so that they're as high up out of the water as we can make, because we don't want them down below the water line. We don't want water ever coming in them. And we want that like satisfying feeling, if we ever need to be pumping water out, of seeing the water leave to know that the pumps are doing their job. It's like a moral support. So yeah, we're going to start with the through hull for the manual bilge pump back here, and then do the bigger one up in the head for the electric bilge pump. And then we'll seek those in, shall we?
scared me a little bit.
It's like the hull was the same thickness as the pilot. Made it through the hull right as it punched. I mean, it's fine. It's gonna get covered, but
Good. Good. Ouch. Does it go flat? Yeah. Duh.
yeah, I'm ready.
That's kind of all I got.
All right, that's good. Yeah. The Seiko will hold the rest of it.
It looks so good. Yes.
Perfect. Done. That was easy. Next.
Moving on.
All right. Now it's time to drill the hole for this big boy. This is by far the biggest through hull that we're going to be putting in the boat. It's 2 inches, and it's going to go all the way up there in the corner. We've already removed the cork insulation and epoxied in a backing plate of G10, so it's going to have a nice flat, solid ring to tighten up against. This one I'm going to start from the inside, and then switch and finish it from the outside. Because I know it kind of has to go there. No matter what happens on the outside, it has to go there. So, here goes nothing. I don't think it's gonna. Yeah. All right, so change of plans. Scratch everything I just said. I'm gonna get the little drill just to drill the pilot hole from the inside out so I know where it is, and then do all of the hole saw drilling from the outside so that I can get the correct angle. Because the hull angle's back and it's not, I can't get the right angle. It was a funny angle.
This is how thick our deck is where we just installed that 2-inch through hull. But you can see, going back in time, the original thickness of our hull deck joint, and then this part here is the glass we added when we glassed over the hull deck joint in Guatemala, and then there's some epoxy, and this is the G10 backing plug we put in, so that massive hole has some serious reinforcement.
Can't really make it any tighter.
Why?
So the big giant 2-inch through hull has been installed, and we get that in last night, and it's secured and the nuts on there nice and tight. So now we have to install barbed fitting on the end of that, and then we're also going to be installing, sit stay little buddy. We're also going to be installing a check valve. We did run a test yesterday when we were testing everything else with a check valve installed at the end.
Ready.
3, 2, 1. Just to see how much it was going to reduce the volume coming out, because they do reduce flow a little bit, because it's obviously restricting the diameter of pipe that the water can flow through. And I think it was about 10% or so, when we calculated it. Without it, it dumped the bucket in 22 seconds, and with it, it was 27 seconds or something like that. So it is definitely slowing down the flow of water a little bit, but the reality is we are more concerned about water coming back in than we are about water going out slightly slower, because that's a big hole in the boat, and it's up high, but it means that there's no like loop for it to go up and then come back down. So if we're like heeled over and a wave hits or something, it'll have direct access down into our bilge. So I think putting in the check valve is going to be important. A check valve is just like a one-way valve. It allows water to flow from the bilge pump out, but it's not going to allow any water to flow back in, or bugs, or rats, or mosquitoes, or anything else
Flying
that can
birds.
climb in a big 2-inch hole on the side of birds making a little nest in there. Could potentially clog, but the strainer in the bilge has smaller perforations than the side of this, so less worried about it clogging. But water coming in that way and down into the bilge in like the exact wrong situation is definitely a much more real concern that would actually really happen. So we're still going to install one. We can always take it out if we don't like it. But yeah, so we got a little bit of pipe to cut, a little bit of bending. The angle of this, I'm really hoping we can get the pipe like underneath this nice piece of wood. I hope we don't have to cut it off and then bend it, and then we'll put the check valve like out here somewhere, and then install the pump down in the bilge, and we'll be done with this project for now. A couple of weeks ago, we already ran the 1.5-inch hose for the toilet to flush, because the holding tank's going to sit right here, and the big 2-inch monster that goes around behind me and underneath down to where the electrical bilge pump's going to be, which is just forward of our mast. So we've already snaked all that through. It's a very short run, and now we just have to connect it to the through hull, and we'll be good to go.
If you don't break it first.
Take a year and a half. Problem is, like, it's too tall to stand up, and it's too short to kneel down. Oh, much better. It's warming up.
Oh, it's dripping.
It's getting hot in here with both of us in this tiny little room. What can I say? I was worried we were going to have to carve into that to make that curve, but that's fine. It's a little bit downhill, so there'll probably be a little bit of water pooling in here up against that check valve until we like heel over again, but there's not much else we can do about that unless we cut into this wood. What did you do? Did you shut your finger in the car door?
Yeah, like in between
Ooh, that's a good one.
Ah,
Are you bleeding?
no. I might lose my finger. But no
You
big
got
deal.
9 more. Can I kiss it? Is it better?
Yes.
So this is the other end of the hose that we just installed up above where the holding tank's going to be. Later just runs back behind the head and then up and around. So it's the shortest possible run we could make. Because it's a 2-inch hose, this full of water actually weighs quite a lot. So we've secured it really well along that bulkhead too. The pump is probably going to go down here somewhere. This electric bilge pump, this big boy we tested outside, the best place we figured to install it is just forward. Our mast is going to be sitting here. So it's in the very front of our bilge actually, but it's still about 30 to 35 centimeters, about a foot lower than our cabin sole. So this pump will be able to get water down to basically the bottom of the bilge here, and then there'll be this much water left in the back end of our bilge, which either the manual pump will be able to take care of, or the little small like maintenance pump will be able to take care of. But 30 minutes is pretty good to recover from a full flood, which I don't even think that'd be possible. We've never had water above our floorboards in the past, but things can happen. Let's say like that one. All right, that's installed enough for now. We got a zip tie holding the hose on, which actually holds the pump in place pretty well. The issue is if we screw the pump base down like it's sort of designed to, we don't have the clearance to like bring it back out again. So this way, if we ever need to do maintenance, we can just cut a zip tie, kind of bring the whole pump up, do maintenance, and put it back. Does mean the pump moves a little bit, which may or may not be an issue. I'm not super concerned about it. We also wired our float switch just above it. It's an electronics float switch. It's not one of those manual ones. So if the water ever gets to the floorboards or above, it's going to turn that pump on, and it's going to drain really quickly. We're not quite ready to wire it all up yet because all of our bilge switches are going to be in our switch panel above the pilot berth, and that's not ready yet. So for now, that's as good as it's going to get. We'll do the electronics later. We also do have plans to power this pump via 48 volt and 12 volt, but we'll get into that when we run the wiring for it, so that it's capable of running off of any of our battery banks, not just one. But yeah, that's going to be as installed as that gets for now. And then we just have to run the hoses from the back of the bilge through to the manual pump, and that one would be as good as it's going to get for now. And then these last ones I might leave out until we're kind of done. We're also going to be installing these like strainers for the big manual bilge pump out in the cockpit locker. One here in the main bilge and one in the cockpit. These kind of have two jobs. One to keep big chunks of debris from getting sucked up inside of it, so that kind of helps filter it out. And also inside there is a little bit of a one-way valve as well, so that once you start pumping, it actually kind of keeps its prime. So as you're pumping and this whole hose fills full of water, it's not trying to like flow back down into the bilge every time you stop pumping. So it's a little bit more efficient that way. The also cool part is we can rotate them. The outlet we can rotate 90 degrees. So you can mount it flat if you want, but we found a good spot to mount it up against this floor, and I can screw it directly into solid fiberglass, so it's not gonna be perforating into these foam cord sections we did a long time ago. That way or that way? I wish it was like that way.
Whichever is easiest for the curvature of the hose, I would say, right?
All right, we have measured and marked and drilled and test fit everything and cleaned up and sealed the edge of the plywood in here with epoxy and over drilled and filled the holes with epoxy. So we should be pretty much ready to do our final install of the manual pump out here in the cockpit locker. The deck plate has a nice like rubber seal on it, and this has a big rubber gasket that goes on it. So everything should be well protected from water coming in here and then going in our cockpit locker. So now we just need to re-drill the 6mm holes through, put some bolts on, and this thing should be nice and mounted. It's really windy today.
It's so windy today.
I'm glad we're protected by like 2 full layers of catamarans and then this giant steel boat, because it's loud, but we don't really feel much of the wind on our tiny little boat. We're completely blocked, but it's really windy. It's probably blowing 40 or 50 knots. out the way we planned, but we might flip it later. You're gonna have to kind of like pull that gasket through.
Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Alright, stop. Okay. Top. Ready? More. How's the length? Are they about the same or is one longer?
No, there's a lot left.
On the new one?
Yeah.
Sweet. Okay, no, we're good. Should probably take my socks off. I'll have more dexterity. Yeah. People thought doing wiring in the lazarette was not in a good position. I think I'm not claustrophobic. Oh wait, I am.
You'd be so good at cave diving.
I hate caving. I know I can get out of here. That's the difference. Oh my god. All right. Oh man. All right. Out of one hole, into the other. Just another day at the office. Can I have the light? Oh, sweet. It's gonna live like right there. To turn it from like main to salon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sweet. Right. So our emergency bilge pumps are pretty much installed. Our welder's in the shop right now, but when it comes back, I want to make this straight fitting out of the pump 90 degrees so it can go out that way. Same on the other side, just because it's a pretty tight spot we have it mounted. Straight, and then with the big 1-inch hose, 1.5-inch hoses on it, it doesn't have the radius to bend, so those need to come out at 90. The other thing we didn't talk about is how many months ago we installed a fitting and drilled a hole and like plumbed it all in underneath the batteries before we installed them, because that's part of this manual bilge pump system. So because this whole tube that is running our manual bilge pump out in the cockpit locker, it's going to pump out our main bilge in the salon, and the cockpit locker will have a valve switch between the two. Because this whole pipe is running underneath our battery box, our batteries are going to be sitting on this ledge. We're not going to have very easy access to this
once the batteries are installed without, you know, disassembling and taking out the batteries, which isn't the end of the world. It's just like a day's worth of work, but it's not going to be easily accessible. So we're using these monster pipe clamps to hold this on, and everything's sealed with like Sigaflex, so it's never ever going to leak. So it's going to be like very low maintenance. Also, while I'm down here, I ran this little like through hose, which are to drain the ocean vault compartments because they're also watertight. I was originally going to put bilge pumps in each of the ocean vault lockers. However, there's not a whole lot of space in there. We'd still have to run a hose out and an extra cable in to run the bilge pumps. And then there's maintenance and cleaning and everything. So we decided to opt to not have extra bilge pumps in the ocean vault compartments and instead just run a drain plug out of the bottom, and then it'll go through this hole here and then into the main bilge where we'll have like a valve. So for some reason, if one of these ocean vault compartments ever starts leaking, that water will just go into the main bilge in the salon, where we have the manual pump, the maintenance pump, and the emergency pump to take care of it. So there's already like 3 pumps down there to take care of it. So that'll set the bilge pump off, and then we'll be able to inspect to see which hose the water's coming out of. If it's coming out of one of the ocean vaults, if it's just slow, we can open up the top and inspect it. And if it's like just gushing and the ocean vault's for some reason flooded, like I don't even know why they would flood, but theoretically it's possible, there's a hole in the boat, then we can just close that off and it becomes a watertight sealed compartment. So that compartment would fill full of seawater, but it wouldn't necessarily flood the rest of the boat until we could haul out and fix it. So that was our philosophy, was like, if it's a minor enough leak that a bilge pump could take care of it, we'll take care of it with the main bilge pump. And if it's a major leak where a little pump couldn't take care of it, we're just going to seal it off, and we have to haul out to fix that anyway. So we did do that a long time ago, but I don't think we talked about that in this video. And also this valve is designed for wastewater, so for like the head, and it's designed to run your discharge line and divert it between overboard and the holding tank, but it's also 1.5 inches, and we're using it so that this one big massive manual bilge pump, we've got 1 output and 2 inputs. So we kind of plumbed it backwards so that one of these is coming in from a cockpit locker and one of these is coming in from the main salon. So if we ever got water in one or the other, we could just flip this valve and use the manual pump if we had to pump it out. Since those are the 2 main areas and with the largest potential to have flooding, we figured we could just use 1 pump because it's pretty expensive and it's very powerful and it takes up a lot of space. So we can have 1 pump that pumps out 2 large spaces. So we'll leave it on the salon most of the time because that's the area that needs to get pumped out the quickest. If the cockpit ever gets flooded, there's not a whole lot of water that can even go in it because it's not a very large space, and most of that part of the hull is pretty high up in the waterline anyway. So these are as installed as they're going to get. I feel pretty good about it. We've got way more capacity to dump water out of our boat now than we've ever had in the past. So it makes me feel pretty good about our life out at sea. But I think we're going to leave it there. Oh, hey.
Hi. I don't think there's space for 2 in there.
Hi. It's a pretty tight fit in here.
Yeah.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Cheers.
A little bit of smoke coming out of there. The motor shouldn't be the first thing to melt when you overcharge it.